Greetings, comrades, and welcome to another podcast, and hopefully the first podcast that will be on YouTube. The new face of YouTube, guys. I understand that it has been a long time since I last posted. I hope to post episodes more frequently and get my comrades onto the show to share their opinions. As always, please enjoy this episode. Well, what can I say? Global tensions are rising starkly once again. And who else could be the culprit but Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin? He's been igniting tensions since he first became Russian president, all the way back in December 1999, after Boris Yeltsin resigned on near Christmas Day, something like this, I think. I swear that every time he causes trouble, he's listening to Britney Spears sing, "Oops, I did it again." This time, or should I say once again, his eyes are set on Kiev and Ukraine, yes. The UK Foreign Office suggests that Putin is looking to topple the Zelensky government and put in place a pro-Kremlin puppet administration. Essentially, this means that Putin wants to make Ukraine into its satellite state. 30 years after the last satellite state broke off from Soviet influence. To make things worse, US President Joe Biden is no Ronald Reagan. He has managed to make the most powerful military force in the world ignorable. He literally said in a press conference that Putin has to do something. I mean, no. The White House should be demanding that this invasion must not go ahead. And if it does, then there will be very serious consequences for Russia. And not just some stupid small sanctions that will do nothing. Biden's role here is to make Putin sweat and fear retaliation for his actions, nobody else's. Not waving at Russian tanks as they enter Ukraine before his midday nap. This is a pathetic response from America, and it pleases Vladimir Putin, who is still without question the most dangerous individual on this planet. To make things worse, even worse, the UK government is too busy with scandals to mount a severe response, and Macron is too interested in preparing for his coronation as the King of Europe to care. Also, the former monarch of Europe, Angela Merkel, nicknamed the Putin Whisperer, i.e. the only Western leader who Putin had respect for and would work with, has retired after 16 years of service. Thank you, Angela. Dankeschön. The worst thing that the West is likely to threaten Russia with are further sanctions. Because to President Zelensky's dismay and distraught face, Russia's invasion would not ever escalate to nuclear war. It would just not be worth it at all. Millions, billions of people would die. No. At least we know what Putin is after. He wants to try and rebuild something similar to the USSR. After all, he did call the collapse of the Soviet Union the worst geopolitical disaster of the century, mainly because Russia no longer controlled Eastern Europe, which for the entirety of the Cold War served as the USSR's shield, a buffer zone, a bumper between the Western powers and the East. Once that was shattered, and a lot of Eastern European countries joined the EU and NATO, it seemed that the Iron Curtain had just slapped Russia right back in the face. Putin did not like this at all. He wants Eastern Europe to once again be under Russian influence, which I think is Russia's wish in the negotiations that are going on at the moment. Now, if you haven't noticed, these are quite ridiculous demands, which make no sense whatsoever. Eastern European countries have the right to be sovereign and run by their own governments. Yes, the EU, the European Union, may take away some of the sovereignty as it instills a mandatory set of rules and rights into the legal systems of member states in order to be part of this club. But the benefits of being in this club, being within the largest borderless single market in the world, outweigh the small loss of power. I mean, economic growth for Eastern European countries who have come into the EU has been, significant. It has allowed them to rebuild. Now, compare this to the Soviet Union. All satellite states were run by a communist, pro-Kremlin leader, or else they would be a target. Tito, a very famous troublemaker, I guess, within the Eastern Bloc, the Yugoslavian leader, was threatened by Stalin that if he waved his finger, he would fall. And that is why several assassinations attempts took place. Or Imre Nagy, the Hungarian prime minister, was executed after trying to pull his nation out of the Warsaw Pact in 1956. All of the member states had weak economies, and life under the communists was bleak and it was tough. That is why those countries broke ties with Russia and now are standing with Ukraine against the threat of invasion. From experience, Russian influence takes away most of a country's sovereignty and worsens the standard of living for the people of those countries. I don't think that Ukraine should care that it is part of what Putin thinks is traditional Russia, and that Russians live in Ukraine. I mean, if you want to be part of Russia, then pack your bags and return to Russia. Nothing is stopping you. This is in no way a legitimate reason for Russia to invade. Taking over Ukraine to unite all Russians is crazy. It's ridiculous. Russians and people with Russian heritage live in the UK and the USA. Why doesn't Russia take over those countries? A, it would end millions of Russians' lives, and because this reason is 100% garbage. Putin is looking to take over Ukraine and Eastern Europe to gain more resources, more land, more influence, and to once again use the Eastern Bloc as a shield to get the Western powers as far away from mainland Russia as possible. Additionally, as we have seen in 2014, when the first invasion of Ukraine took place, within which Russia annexed Crimea, which essentially means they took a part of Ukraine for themselves without asking. How rude, right? So terrible. So mean. Also, an invasion of Georgia in 2008 shows that Putin is not scared of using military force to bring these countries under his control. However, and this is the clever part, to avoid bloodshed, Putin demands for American-made weapons, especially cruise missiles, to be removed from Eastern Bloc countries, such as Poland and Ukraine. He doesn't like the fact that the armies of these countries are now strong enough to repel, or if not repel, then deal severe damage to Russia if attacked. So to get his way in the negotiations, he gives the West a choice. Abandon Ukraine, and preferably, the other countries as well, that immediately surround Ukraine, or watch me invade. And as said before, the West will be forced to watch as Russia invades, because any actual action against Russia, especially on non-EU and non-NATO soil, which is Ukraine, will be a provocation to the most destructive conflict in history. I shan't lie, this puts the Western powers in a sticky situation. You get me? Before I finish, if a certain Vladimir is listening in to this episode, I'd just like to say, back off. Comrades, Thank you for listening to my never-ending rant. I thought I might just make it clear that just because my show is called the Comrade Podcast doesn't mean I am a communist. No, no, no. To be clear, I denounce communism due to the effects that it has had, i.e. 100 million dead in the pursuit of a communist utopia. Godspeed, over and out.